Last year, I made a retrospective focusing on all things tag fighting games, mainly thanks to the double whammy of 2XKO's at the time upcoming beta and Marvel vs Capcom Fighting Collection's imminent release. Flash forward, 8 months from now, and we are currently in the midst of a tag game renaissance. Hunter Nen Impact, 2XKO, Marvel Tokon Fighting Souls, and yes, even a licensed Invincible tag fighting game by former Killer Instinct developers. All of these are currently slated for releases in 2025 and 2026 respectively. Shockingly, I can't believe I'm about to say this, my previous video is already outdated, and to keep it a stack with y'all, it was outdated even when it dropped. I didn't really talk about Hunter Nen Impact like at all, which I'll cover as to why that's the case in this video, and my heavy focus on 2XKO's dev cycle has had some, well, let's say hefty updates thanks to Beta 2. Throw the new games in the mix and yeah, it's time for a revisit of sorts. I'll be including quite a few games I left out that will prove vital to the upcoming 2026 tag entries. I'll also be throwing them into the mix alongside the original content, and of course, we'll cover the new games that have been announced. Timestamps will be provided below for all and any who have already watched the OG video, so if you want to skip to my updated games and thoughts on new ones, the description will be your best friend. For the rest of ya, hi, I'm your boy Joseph, and I welcome you to kick back, relax, as I explain.
Select your heroes.
Before we jump in, let's lay some ground rules. Games like King of Fighters are not what I would dub a tag fighter, as there's no active switch between the members during combat. But what about assist-based fighting games? Well, assist-based titles are fighting games that usually have one full-fledged feature-rich character that has either one or two partners that can be called upon for assist or combo extensions. Think of recent games like Mortal Kombat 1 and JoJo's Bizarre Adventure All-Star Battle R. Since these games technically have characters being called upon for combat, I will be briefly covering them. Alright, let's start this timeline. What was the very first tag fighting game? Heading back to 1984, we got Tag Team Wrestling by Data East. Don't worry, I'm not going to get into more subgenres of fighting games like Fight Night and the long list of WWE games, but just know that a vast majority of these titles offer a tag team mode. Yes, I'm stalling, Tag Team Wrestling by Data East is very bad. I don't even know if it fully classifies as a fighting game. I mean, you flow around and press the attack button hoping for a punch to connect, and then select from a move list and watch a little animation play out as you rinse repeat. What makes this game so confusing is the fact that when you and your opponent bump into each other, you guys cling together like glue, making the process of landing attacks nigh impossible. And on the very small chance you do land a hit, you get exactly 2 seconds to choose from a laundry list of attacks. It's a very confusing gameplay system to say the least. Eventually, you'll run low on power, which constitutes the tag mechanic. Tagging in your sideline partner will give you a new lease on power, also known as health, and basically the loop is as followed. Wrestle until you're low on power, swap in your tag partner, and go crazy until you're low on power, and then you rinse repeat until you get to that tasty 3 count. Pretty basic gameplay loop that serves as a good foundation for the tag team formula moving forward. As we venture into the 90s, Capcom dropped the genre-defining title Street Fighter II, which kickstarted the fighting game revolution. Naturally, with games like X-Men Children of the Atom and Marvel Superheroes, you'd expect Capcom to lead the charge in the tag team space. And while that's half true, it wouldn't be much of a history video if I didn't bring up Capcom's friendly rivalry with fighting game powerhouse SNK. On September 29th, 1996, SNK dropped the world's first tag team fighting game, Kizuna Ecounter's Super Tag Battle, a slick, stylish, weapon-based fighter. The game has a 4-button system akin to other NeoGeo fighters like King of Fighters and Real Bout Fatal Fury. The A button is the punch, B kick, C weapon attack, and D the tag button. Each attack in combination with holding forward will give the player a strong variant of it. Now, unlike future tag games, tagging cannot be done anywhere on screen. You must position your fighter into a tag-specific zone. This opens up some interesting strategies during combat. For example, it might be beneficial for the player to switch sides during combat because you can get a free tag in your zone while locking down your opponent, preventing them from tagging out. The game also kind of has tag attacks. When a player is around 50% life and near a tag zone, you get to execute one of 2 attacks. One being the surprise attack, aka a free combo extender with your partner, and the second attack you can perform is the emergency tag, where the bench partner jumps out and hits the opponent. The game functions on a one-round system, and health is not shared between the two fighters, so tagging in and out to swap around two health bars is essential, as if either one of you goes down, it's game over. Combo structure is pretty simple. Your punch and kicks attacks chain into their light and strong variants and can usually be followed up via a special move which constitutes a knockdown. Kizuna Encounters is a really fun game. It's got a fantastic diverse roster and the gameplay has aged incredibly well. My only gripe with the title is I really don't like the zooming in and out of the sprites, which was a big thing during the NeoGeo era of fighters. For me, it gets a bit nauseating and I gotta take some breaks in between sessions. Aside from that, the game is def worth a try and you could purchase it via the NeoGeo Arcade Classics on PlayStation and Switch digital storefronts. On September 25th, 1996, yes, 5 days after Kizuna Ecounter dropped allegedly in Japan, Capcom released the phenomenal X-Men vs Street Fighter. This was a tag fighter that was 2 years in the making, as X-Men Children of the Atom featured Akuma as a hidden character, which was followed up with Marvel Superheroes. All three games feature very similar control schemes and gameplay functions. A 6-button control scheme, meaning we got light, medium, heavy punches and kicks that all change each other thanks to the magic system. Or for my anime players out there, the system known as Gatling. You know you're playing a tag-esque fighter when you hold down your stick, press either heavy punch or kick, and a character gets a rainbow launch trail that launches them into the stratosphere, giving you a free chase and a very funny combo. The roster is solid. We got some returning X-Men like Cyclops, Juggernaut, Magneto, Storm, and Wolverine. As for the Capcom side, they did a great job of good old brand synergy. In the arcade, Street Fighter Alpha was the game set up in most places, meaning that the roster on the Street Fighter side uses the Street Fighter Alpha sprites. Sprites I've always been really fond of. Well, everyone except for Chun-Li for some reason. The stage design is beautiful. I especially love this shopping mall stage. It's just so busy and vibrant. As for the tag function, it's pretty simple. There's no assist yet, but you can press heavy punch and heavy kick together to swap between two of your chosen fighters. When you tag in the characters, they execute a dive attack on incoming. The game also features the tag mechanic Team Hyper Cancel, which allows both characters to pop up on screen at once and do their super moves. This is done by inputting quarter circle forward, heavy punch, and heavy kick. Another great thing about the tag system of XVSF is that both characters have their own individual health bar, and when one character gets KO'd, the second one follows through with the tag in. Defensively, XVSF offers a push block and guard cancel mechanic. These would go on to become staples of the genre moving forward, as players need something to combat the newfound sense of aggression tag games would introduce. It's these quality of life features that keep the gameplay fun, exciting, and fresh, as the game incentivizes constant tags and a focus on massive combos and lockdown strategies to prevent your opponents from getting a chance to tag out. Couple all of this with an insanely superb OST, beautiful graphics, and just a really fun pick up and play gameplay, and you have a recipe for success. It's no wonder pretty much every tag fighting game from X-Men vs Street Fighter and forward would borrow or build off of these mechanics this game laid down. Although I won't lie, I'm a little sad we never truly got to see how far a tag system like Kizuna Ecounter could be pushed. I just think the concept of having these tag specific zones two players have to fight over would be kinda fun. Nevertheless, it's reassuring to see that my favorite subgenre in fighting games has two extremely strong starts. In 1997, Capcom seemingly fast-tracked Marvel Superheroes vs Street Fighter. The roster got a slight shake-up, and not in a good way in my opinion. We lost several X-Men in place of more traditional Marvel heroes, and a couple new Capcom characters got added like Sakura and Dan. It's not a bad roster or anything, but to me, this was a huge sign that X-Men were basically integral to the identity of Marvel vs Capcom, and any games lacking a substantial amount of them is gonna be a hard sell for the masses. But hey, the gameplay is still mad fun, and that's what's most important. Marvel Superheroes vs Street Fighter is the first tag game from my research that has assist calls. While pressing medium kick and medium punch, your partner will pop up on the screen and do a little attack. It's a cool first step, but darn does it feel weird in this game. Your character stops, stands there as your assist is summoned from the sidelines, and it takes quite a bit of time for him to come out and do their thing. There are ways to combo with certain assists, such as getting a knockdown and using the assist as an OTG of sorts, but in a game where almost every character combos better without assist calls slowing them down, you'll have a hard time using it in higher level play. As per tradition, the OST is superb, and they got some really quirky guest characters like this comedian from Japan, who is soon to be replaced by Cyber Akuma in the Arcade Collection release. I guess now is also an excellent time to bring up that these games are busted. Like, of course, as a casual passerby, the arcade runs are a ton of fun, and the larger-than-life bosses like Onslaught and Apocalypse are some fun quarter munchers, but the main versus mode with players that are versed in these games is no joke. If you go online, you'll find tons of videos of people landing infinites and other crazy things. These elements of tag fighters will become a genre staple, and over time we'll see how each game tries to prevent this degeneracy from happening. Heck, there's versions of X-Men vs Street Fighter like the Saturn port that basically removed a good chunk of the infinites with characters for starters. Marvel Superheroes vs Street Fighter is a fun time, and I get to play as Sakura and Ken, which is always a plus in any fighting game. In the same year, another arcade cabinet came out titled Groove on Fight. Atlas, yes, Persona Atlas, made a 2D fighting game with some of the most breathtaking sprite work I've ever seen. And let me tell you, this game is straight gas. It's set in the near future of 2015. This game's art style and overall tone is straight cinema to me. It's got a super slick cyberpunk edge to it. All the characters are drenched in drip, and the presentation during match start is pretty raw. Groove on Fight is like the happy marriage between Kizuna Encounters and the Capcom Vs series up until this point. In Groove on Fight, your tag team is present on screen the entire fight. As you dash forward, your partner will follow in the background. When you make the tag, your background character will leap out of the cut, do a crisp dap up with your partner as they enter the fray. I truly love how your partner is always in the mix, as it really makes each fight feel like a scrap on the street. As for the gameplay, it's shockingly unique. The game is a 6-button fighter, kind of, but your two rightmost buttons are more functions than attacks. We got the classic light and heavy punches and kicks, but we also have a couple of other wrinkles. For starters, I think this is the first fighting game with a dedicated dash button, and since the game predates Smash Bros., I also think it's the first fighting game to offer dash attacks. We also have a slew of tag attacks. Your background character can leap into the foreground with the combination of forward and tag, which sets up for a tag attack, and if you tag your partner in and input down, down, and punch before a tag is complete, you get this awesome tag team super move. This is exactly what I was talking about when I was hoping for more fighting games to borrow and expand upon some of those systems Kizuna Encounter brought. And while Groove on Fight has some truly excellent ideals in the tag department, the execution is a little bit clunky. It's hard to describe in words, but if you play Groove on Fight, you'll know exactly what I mean. Buttons have this slight delay. The input reader on quarter circles, at least on my Sega Saturn here, sometimes drops the move and makes me either jump or do a normal when I'm just trying to get a special out. And the movement has this classic hefty weight to it that fighting games from this era often have if they don't got the company name Capcom or SNK on it. Still, despite the minor gripes I have, I really enjoyed what Groove on Fight did for the tag team genre, and I really hope to see some other games revisit this style and add a modern twist to it, as the combo potential is through the roof. Sadly, recommending this game is really hard. It's exclusive to Japan and only on arcade boards and the Sega Saturn. If you don't mind emulation, there's definitely ways to play and try Groove on Fight for yourself, or if you can hunt down a copy of this game with the Japanese Sega Saturn, that's kind of a way you could play it. Pictured here is the Sega Saturn version of this game that I'm running on real hardware via an ODE. It's a bit overkill, but I try my best to give you gamers a classic experience. So, shout this game out and let people know of its existence. Maybe we can get an arcade port similar to Kizuna Encounters and another game that I'm going to talk about real soon. It'd be awesome if Atlas could give one of the most interesting tag fighters out there another lease on life, considering all the first-time mechanics it brought to the table.
Capcom presents Marvel vs. Capcom!
And in comes the game that changes everything we know about tag fighters. In 1998, Marvel vs. Capcom dropped. The floodgates have been busted wide open as the roster potential is through the roof, and MVC takes great advantage of that. We get some awesome brand new sprites for characters like Strider, Captain Commando, Jin, Roll, and Mega Man, and over on the Marvel side we get Venom and War Machine. That's right, MVC was the first game in the tag formula to take that next step up, as it offers a huge roulette of assists, which almost gives us the feeling of having 3 people on a team. Characters like Thor, for example, will jump out and help the team of 2 at any point you trigger the assist during combat. Now, be warned, assists are limited use, usually varying between 3 to 5 uses per assist, so keep that in mind before you go spam calling them. So now we have kinda 2 forms of tag. the partner swap, and the assist call. This makes for some of the most fun gameplay I've ever experienced in a fighting game, and yes, it still holds up to this day. The only minor gripe I have with this game is that it's still a 6-button fighter. I know, I'm a zoomer. I just think controls can get a bit cumbersome for me in the heat of matches, and upon coming back, I often forget to use my assist feature, as its button combination, I get a little mixed in my head. That's not all though. This marks the first tag game to give us the superb mechanic that is crossover combination, allowing both of your characters to come out on screen at once and dish out devastating damage, and you're in control of the both of them. They also get access to seemingly infinite super meters, all for the low price of 3 bars and a half circle back input. This is by far the most fun mechanic to mess around with, and the ways you could sandwich your foes and set up for some eye-melting combos will never not be peak to me. Marvel vs Capcom is a landmark game that I played for countless hours as a kid and still come back to quite often to this day thanks to rollback netcode and Fightcade. King of Fighters 99 marks the first of what I consider a cursed subgenre in the tag fighting game realm, the assist-based fighter. KF99 functions very similarly to its previous counterparts. We got short hops, multiple super meters, choosing a team of 3, so on and so forth. The most unique factors in KOF99 are the armor mode, which is activated via a BCD press. This allows the player to take less damage, and they also gain super armor for 1 to 2 hits while the player attacks. There's also counter mode, which gives the player a 25% increase in all damage and allows for super cancels. Mix these bonkers mechanics in the gumbo that is the striker system, and you get one uber busted game. Strikers are, well, to be blunt, assist calls. Nothing more, nothing less. Some, like Athena, heal. Some, like Terry, fly out and deal damage. Some might even do a little grab combo. The strength of the assist also plays a factor, so if you have something like Terry, who is a combo monster on his assist call, you're only going to get about 3 uses per round. In order to gain an assist use back, you have to wait every 2 rounds. It's a system, especially in older games, I'm not too fond of because it boils tag gameplay down to the bare basics. In casual play for me, it never feels like my assist calls are a natural extension of my team. Instead, they're just these, for lack of a better term, functions I use to get me out of a binder to push my offense just a bit further. To prevent padding throughout the video, KOF 2000 is very similar to 99, the biggest addition being a handful of new characters, as was the tradition with KOF entries. It isn't until 2001 when we start to see some substantial changes to the striker system. The changes in question: you can now set up to 3 characters as strikers, or leave it as the default 1. So a team of 2 active teammates and 2 strikers, done. A team of 1 character and 3 other strikers or assist, done and done. The world is your assist-based oyster, and you get to craft the team comp. I always thought this was a great step forward for the KOF series, as it really reinforces making each teammate special and a natural extension of a character's already robust moveset. Unfortunately, it didn't last. The system was very unpopular among KOF's player base, and by 2002, they traded strikers in for a gameplay style, let's just say, that was much more traditional. That said, let's not count out SNK. They'll be popping up a lot more throughout this list, because this is clearly a genre that spoke deeply to the gameplay designers.
Ready?
Marvel vs Capcom 2. New Age of Heroes.
This is without a doubt the most famous tag fighter to exist. For crying out loud, the NBA Finals in 2020 were promoted via a MVC2 character select screen. You know this game, you've probably played this game, and its impact on the FGC was monumental. MVC2 adds a handful of new characters. On the Marvel side, we have Cable, Morrow, Doctor Doom, and Thanos, and over on the Capcom side, we have Ruby Heart, Amingo, Sun, Tronbone, Servbot, and lastly, Anacaris. The gameplay got a radical overhaul. This is the first tag fighter that's 3v3, and it's Capcom's second 4-button fighter. Now, as you all know, in SNK land and other games, this is the norm, but for Capcom, they had a good run of like 4 tag games that were all 6-button fighters, so this was a shocking move to many players at the time. MVC2 offers a light kick and light punch, as well as a heavy punch and kick. The new wrinkle is the assist system between your team of 3. When selecting a character, you choose one of 3 assist types, which do different assist actions. For example, a anti-air assist will be a quick get-off-me move or combo extender like Psylocke Psyblade. A projectile assist will be something like Cyclops Laser or Ryu's Hadouken. I think you homies get the gist. Make your team of 3, call in those wacky assists, and go crazy free-forming combos. Combos that are only more insane thanks to a couple of game-changing tech players would discover over the years. First, we have the addition of DHC, aka Delayed Hyper Cancel, or Delayed Super, pick your poison. DHC lets you tag in 3 of your teammates, allowing them to combo 1 super at a time in very quick succession. There's also a crossover combination that lets all 3 characters pull up at once and lets you rip 3 supers at the exact same time. All of these factors make combos hit like a truck and lead to an arguably easier tag game experience. Because assist and characters are extremely oppressive this time around, it feels almost essential to use the push block mechanic. However, instead of pressing 3 buttons to push back on block, it's restricted to 2 because there's only 2 attack buttons, which makes doing push blocks a ton easier, I assume, on most of the player base. Of course, throwing out push block can't be thrown out willy-nilly, as there's definitely counterplay to push block enjoyers, which leads into a big potential problem some tag fighters start experiencing: the dreaded grime. Due to the new assist calls, getting cheeky cross-ups, and making everything honestly easier than ever before, locking your opponents down became a lot easier of a job for players to figure out. This is thanks to the fact that players could handpick certain assist calls to make the job, well, effortless. Not to mention, there's new ways to circumvent opponents from tagging in healthy players thanks to MVC2's new snapback mechanic. This basically lets the player knock someone's point character away as they're forced to send in an anchor, which usually leads to the miserable fucking infinite. While technically Marvel 2 has a form of infinite prevention, or IPS for short, players quickly found combo routes and ways to circumvent it. So players decided to opt for combos that were high in damage and short in the amount of hits, so you could kill before the undizzy or IPS kicked in, which would auto flip people out of combos. And similar to MVC1, even if they do flip out, some top tiers could take advantage of this protective state and go for air resets via grabs, frame traps, and other devious methods. Personally, a lot of that stuff to me is what makes the genre so much fun. I don't know, something about dishing out the beatdown with the team that I'm actively commanding feels really, really good. And when I'm on the receiving end of the beatdown, I just hold that and keep my head held high. Sometimes getting outplayed means watching a 30-second unskippable cutscene, and I'm content with that. Despite this, MVC2 is an all-time classic, and yes, it still holds up 24 years later, and I'm so happy it's coming back via the MVC collection. And that's not all. MVC2 marks the end of an era, and our arcade lights begin to dim as the doors shutter behind us. So I ask you, audience, what are your thoughts on 3D fighters? Tekken Tag Tournament 1 was technically released in 1999 for the arcade. However, truth be told, it's often seen as the inferior version compared to its console counterparts. We are rapidly approaching a time in gaming where the arcade hardware is struggling to outperform the consoles in the comfort of your own home. Games like Soul Calibur, Dead or Alive 2, and even Virtua Fighter 3, all of which can be found on the Dreamcast, vastly outperform their arcade counterparts either graphically or through adding more content, and oftentimes both of these things are combined, thus making the home experience superior to a lot of players' eyes. So it's no surprise that on October 26, 2000, we were greeted with 3 3D tag fighters, with the likes of Tekken Tag Tournament 1, Dead or Alive 2, and Street Fighter EX3. And since all these games were North American PlayStation 2 launch titles, I guess we're just gonna start wherever. Tekken Tag 1. It's a cool little dream matchup game, so to speak. A lot of returning characters throughout the franchise history team up and beat each other down. The tag mechanics are nothing fancy. The classic press a button to swap in and out, which can also be performed at any point during a launcher on a combo to remove any recoverable red health. They do have cool tag throws, some of which have team-specific animations, but for the most part, it's pretty basic tag team gameplay. It also has my big personal pet peeve of sharing a health bar across 2 characters, meaning if one character goes down, the round is ended. I never understood that in tag games, because what's the point of your second partner? It really boils the tag mechanics down to swap out only when you're low on health, and that's basically it. It feels like there's no true synergy between my team, and in a post-MVC world, that's a little frustrating for me. Regardless, it's good Tekken style fun, and if you're itching for more of that Tekken 3 kind of game, this is one that's worth playing. Dead or Alive 2 is not a traditional tag fighter, but it did introduce a franchise staple tag team mode. In DOA 2, the tag mechanics are very similar to Tekken Tag 1. We got tag throws and the swap mechanic, but the biggest change is that the characters do not share a health bar. When one character goes down or you initiate a tag, DOA 2 has this excellent dynamic camera showing the partner jumping in from the railings, which always looks sick to me. It really adds to the martial arts cinema vibe that DOA as a franchise strives for. The only downside is in DOA 2, you can only do the tag mode in the explosive danger zone. This is due to hardware restrictions, I'm sure, but it does make fights a bit stale. To avoid redundancy on the list, I'll quickly go over the DOA franchise tag mode since not much changes from game to game. In Dead or Alive 3, released in 2001, the tag mode expands, allowing for more stages to be selected, although a curated bunch of them, and it introduces tag attacks. This also applies to DOA 4 and DOA 5. This tag mode is straight up insane. There's a very short cooldown on tag attacks, so oftentimes you'll see combos and wall crushes that feel like they last for an eternity. Sure, DOA has options to counter this play via the hold system, but as a new player mashing buttons and stepping in, it feels pretty crazy, I'm not gonna lie to ya. It's just nice to see that an offhand mode back in the day had so many incredible tag mechanics, rewarding gameplay decisions, and all of this at no extra cost. I'm not gonna lie, sometimes I miss classic fighting games. Street Fighter EX3 is basically a dynamic battle simulator in single player mode. The arcade mode is chocked full of like 1v4 fights. As for the traditional mode, you can only do tag battles. Now the EX franchise has a long and layered history that far exceeds the premise of this video. All you need to know is these games are renowned for their epic soundtracks and absolutely bonkers gameplay. This is one of those fighting games where a core mechanic of gameplay is comboing super into super into super. Like, that's how you get your damage in the EX universe. EX3 takes these ideals and cranks them over 9,000. In EX3, you get 3 gauges to play with, 2 super meters for each character, and the tag gauge. Quickly, you'll notice that tagging in an EX3 is nothing like we've seen in past tag titles. It isn't an option where you just switch out because a character is low. There's no button to call a dedicated assist, nor is it a blistering fast switch like DOA that gets set up for a quick combo. Instead, your control over the character that's being switched lingers for a little bit, usually giving you just enough time to perform one action before your tagged-in partner takes over. Gamers, I kid you not, what you're witnessing is the very first instance of an active tag system. A very unrefined, very ugly version 1, but by golly, it's here. EX3 is not for the faint of heart. There's no dash or run in this game. TODs are easily found with juggle on, and the gameplay overall has a hefty feel to every input. For me, it's a great deal of fun. There's so many intricate tag situations you can set up thanks to these systems the game provides. Not only do we have the active tag-like system, we also have momentary combos, which extend your special move hits, a ton of super cancels, Critical Parade, which allows both characters to come out on screen similar to MVC1, and yes, they get infinite super meter and it lasts for what feels like an eternity. All of these mechanics are great, but playing solo, you'll quickly realize that something feels off. Like, despite how freeform these mechanics are, when performed alone, there's this rigidness and unwieldy style of play that makes the game pretty difficult to control. That audience is because this game is not supposed to be played with 1 or 2 players. It's meant for 4. Yes, 4 individual people each controlling a member of their team. A true 2v2 tag fighter. Yes, I know. Okay, technically EX3 is not the first to do this. That honor goes to DOA 2 on Dreamcast, followed by Tekken Tag Tournament 1, and then it's EX3, as they all released the same day on the NA launch of the PlayStation 2. We've been over this. But the point is, all 3 games have a form of 4-player tag goodness. I will argue that EX3 offers the most unique choices with its 4-player tag mechanics. It's why characters stay out on screen for so long in between tags, and it's why the arcade mode is built around these dramatic battles. Plus, it's probably why Critical Parade lasts for so darn long. Nevertheless, it's clear that tag fighters are eating good as we enter this next generation of consoles. Oh boy, now it's time for SNK's midlife crisis. For the uninitiated, during the early 2000s, while most companies are transitioning to home consoles like Namco, Arxis, Team Ninja, and many more, some companies just had zero idea how to make fighting games sell in this new era, meaning companies like SNK are going to go through a bit of a fighting game identity crisis as they try to grasp new players. Rage of the Dragons released in 2002. It's a 2v2 fighting game set in the Double Dragon universe. It's drenched in that classic Y2K culture. I mean, just look at some of these character designs. The baggy pants, the breakdancing, the super subtle Bruce Lee and blaxploitation references. Trust me, the roster alone is worth a playthrough. But what about the mechanics? Well, since it's NeoGeo, we're back to 4 buttons. Weak punch and kicks alongside strong variants. When the player presses down on a combination of these buttons, we get some dope things. A and B gives you a dodge and place maneuver, which if held forward results in a roll. B and C gives you partner change, which tags your point character out in place of your anchor, which would be standard if it wasn't for the fact that your anchor character comes barreling in through from the side of the screen, actively attacking every single time you switch. And yes, it can be used as a cheeky combo extender on certain stages, which is really dope. Speaking of dope, we get a glimpse into the first attempt at auto combos in a tag game. Well, somewhat. By pressing C and D together, it initiates an impact combo, something that gives the player a predetermined button list that appears in the bottom corner, and you follow said inputs to execute, well, a free combo. There's also the duplex attack, a super you can pull off which has both the point and anchor come out for one dual combination beatdown. And the most unique of all, pressing down on all 4 buttons to surrender your point character, which gives your anchor leftover HP from the point and a boost to super meter as it climbs to 5 stacked bars instead of 3. That's quite a lot of mechanics, and I dig the experimentation of it all. I like how aggressive and fluid this game feels. It's a pretty fast-paced game, and having your partner swap in with an attack rate is a testament to that. The duplex attacks are also really fun to watch, and of course, certain teams get unique interactions depending on who you pair them up with, which adds a lot of charm to this game. I also am happy they kept what should be tradition in these games, and that's allowing both characters to get KO'd rather than letting one character get knocked out and the round promptly ending. Rage of the Dragons is an interesting tag game because it's nothing like most of its counterparts. There's no crazy magic system chaining every attack together, there's no assist calling, and the game at a high level encourages you to straight up surrender a character for a power-up. It's definitely a unique take on the genre and one I don't see many talk about. If you have Fightcade, I really recommend checking this one out, as well as wishlisting the future Steam port that's coming soon. I'm also aware of the Japanese-only Rage of the Dragons arcade game releasing sometime next year, but I'm sure I'll cover that in a future video. Oh boy, King of Fighters 2003. While some may argue it's not the first tag fighter in the KOF series, many might point to KOF 2001 and its striker system as the beginnings of that, and while I understand the sentiment, I'll need y'all to hold on to that thought for a tad bit longer because that particular system is going to be used a ton soon here. It's going to tie into my conversation on assist-based fighting games later. For now, let's focus on 2003. First KOF that has actual tags, meaning you can change between 3 of your teammates, as it's a 3v3 fighter. Mechanically, KOF 2003 is confused. We have standard tags where the point jumps out of the scene in place of one of your anchors, the change attack which is quarter circle forward, and your change buttons which lets your character attack and then change it to your partner, and that sets up for some fun combos, and that's all. Yep, even though SNK has the means for tag style assist via previous game striker systems, they opted for something a bit more streamlined for the first foray into the tag genre. Now, personally, I don't have much to say about the tag mechanics of this game, as it really just evolves into land change attack, do a little combo into super, dance around neutral, and rinse repeat. This wouldn't be as big of a deal if it wasn't for just how awkward 2003 feels to control, at least for me. I don't like how weightless all of my attacks are, and matches tend to last on the longer side of the spectrum. It's an interesting nugget in KOF history, but aside from the attack tag mechanic, the footprint KOF 2003 left on the tag genre is sadly minimal. NeoGeo Battle Colosseum, released in 2005. It's basically the SNK All-Stars, also known as Rent Due. Don't let the appearance fool you though. Despite the reuse of some NeoGeo assets, this game has a really solid gameplay system. Players get a standard tag along with a guard cancel tag requiring 1 bar of super that allow you to swap in between you and your partner so you can get out of those tricky block strings. This game also has the double assault feature, which is the classic quarter circle forward and tag button, which is basically just a mini little combo you can do to tag in your next partner. NeoGeo Battle Colosseum feels like a realized version of the tag mechanics SNK was going for at the time. The game has pretty fast combos that do a decent amount of damage, and damage that's easy to heal thanks to the numerous ways you can tag out of certain sticky situations. That's where the double assault feature comes into play, as the bulk of your game plan will be to land a poke, do a quick combo into double assault, and take away all of that juicy red recoverable health once it's executed. sadly, the tag mechanics are pretty light here despite it being the main focus of the game. We once again have 0 assists to work with, which is something SNK seems to be allergic to, so if you're looking for a mechanically dense tag game, it's best to keep on searching. Nevertheless, the game is still a good chunk of fun to play, and if you guys have the means to try it out, I highly recommend doing so. In comes the last of SNK's midlife crisis, and I gotta say, they almost had it on lock. KOF 11 strives to be a much more fast-paced, in-your-face kind of tag fighter. SNK accounted for that in these really innovative tag mechanics. We now have Quick Shift, which allows you to tag in characters on hit, meaning that while you're doing a combo, you can tag in your partner and continue the beatdown effortlessly. A kind of refined version of the active tag system EX3 started, and I see flashes of the partner attack mechanic from Groove on Fight and Kizuna Ecounter. There's also Saving Shift, a tag mechanic that allows you to tag out while you're getting hit. It's very similar to an anime game style burst. And lastly, we have Guard Cancel Shift, which lets you tag into a partner while blocking and it pushes the opposition away. Viewers, I gotta be honest, this game is mad fun. It's got that classic KOF feel, a massive roster, and tag mechanics that feel laser focused on making combos feel like a natural extension of a team working together rather than making them feel like the dreaded function. My only gripe with KOF 11 is that once again, the striker system is nowhere in sight, let alone any form of assist calling. While I respect the fast-paced tag design, I would have loved to add even more layers to the mix with a striker-like feature. KOF 11 is a good time, and if you happen to miss this entry, I really suggest giving it a try via methods you find plausible. Also, dear SNK, we are long overdue for a KOF collection. I would pay top dollar for a collection of all the KOF games with rollback on modern platforms. Please hit up Code Mystics and all that. Thank you in advance. From 2002 to 2008, there were 0 tag games that featured assist. 6 years of companies experimenting and trying to figure out what could push the genre forward, when in all reality, they just had to hire the company behind Bloody Roar and the Naruto Clash of the Ninja titles. 8 long years. That's the time it took for Capcom to cook in the tag genre series between MVC2 and Tatsunko Vs Capcom. Created as an anniversary project for the Tatsunoko company, TVC featured a lot of groundbreaking designs. For starters, Capcom characters were getting a pretty big facelift into the new era of 3D visuals, and the game has a really gorgeous cel-shaded art style to boot. As for the tag mechanics, we are so back. Since it's 2v2, we're falling more in line with the blend of MVC1 and 8ing's previous anime titles. For tag mechanics, you get the classic incoming, which is a dive from top of the screen that functions as a big old hitbox. Of course, we have the classic assist call, where you call in a partner and they do a little attack, but that's not all. Players also get to use variable air raids, a combo extension tool that lets you tag in your partner mid-air to continue an aerial combo. Defensively, it's the classic stuff. We get variable counter, which costs 1 bar of super, but essentially lets you guard cancel moves with the help of your anchor character. Both DHC and crossover supers make a return, and for the first time in any versus game, players get a Mega Crash, a mechanic ripped straight from games like Guilty Gear that's essentially a burst/get-off-me move. It's pretty easy to execute. You press all your buttons down at once while getting hit. Oh, right, speaking of buttons, this game's a 3-button fighter. You only have light, medium, and heavy attacks, with the 4th button being reserved for partner actions. This was done for a couple of reasons. One, the game ended up being a Wii exclusive on launch, and while it did start at the arcade, home consoles were always the endpoint for fighting games in this time period. 2, 8ing has a knack for making really easy to pick up fighting games that feature insane crossovers, low skill barriers, and insane competitive ceilings to hit. And TVC is the pinnacle of that design, because while it looks Mickey on the outside, the game is anything but. Combos are still pretty tight-knit and hard to execute due to character-specific sizes the player must account for as you find various combo routes. Some of the routes, if you play a character like Zero, require negative edge or holding down a button in the middle of doing fast-paced actions. The characters are super diverse and will offer something varied in their kit to mix up the typical combo formula. Defense is still as important as ever, as managing your push block and your variable counters is essential to lasting long during block strings. And lastly, like all of these games, it's still busted as heck, and that's thanks to BBQ. Okay, I'm sorry, I meant Barku. Borrowing from a game like Rage of of Dragons, TVC lets you sacrifice your red life so you can extend your combos via freezing the screen, canceling your action, popping Barku as giant words pop on the screen, and you continuing your pressure as any way you see fit. TVC is shockingly nuanced and is a great first step towards making the tag game genre more accessible, and it's fun for all players who pick it up. I truly believe this. And while TVC was a strong test run, it was Aiding's next entry that put them on the map for most fighting game enjoyers. Similar to games like Tatsunko Vs Capcom, there's actually two variants of Marvel 3 that release pretty much smack dab next to each other. So for the sake of this video, we're going to focus on Ultimate Marvel vs Capcom 3, which means yes, some glitches like the DHC glitch will not get heavy features. Thankfully, this all got fixed up from the travesty that was Vanilla Marvel 3, and sure, while most of the stuff got fixed up in UMVC 3, it's still a bit broken. To be fair, UMVC 3 as a game feels like a natural evolution of what MVC 2 sought out to accomplish. For starters, we got another 3-button fighting game with light, medium, and heavy attacks. Now, there is a special attack button that's labeled, well, S, but it's mainly for launchers and certain character-specific special moves that are done via traditional fighting game inputs. If all of this is too hard for you to pull off, MVC3 does offer a simple mode which gives you auto combos and easy inputs to help you get the hang of the game before you transition into normal mode combos. Sure, this isn't exactly brand new, all the MVCs offer some form of easy mode to help onboard new players in the chaos that is a tag game, but from what I can tell, MVC3 is the first to offer auto combos, and that's a massive deal for accessibility despite how limited these combos may be. Our roster has also changed quite a bit from MVC2. It's a lot smaller and a lot of mainstream GOATs got left out. The X-Men were basically AFK, and in their place we got some now known but at the time future MCU reps. As for Capcom, we got a lot of returning DNA from TVC, but we also got a good amount of newcomers like C. Viper, Spencer, and Amaterasu. We are truly back to basics. No BBQ, no attack shifting, just good old assist calls, and the half-new feature that is Team Aerial Combo, or TAC for short, which is basically a more streamlined version of TVC's Aerial Partner Combo. Not gonna lie, as far as tag mechanics go, they are pretty light on what can be done. Like, sure, we keep the 3 assist calling, which is pretty cool, and tagging into new fighters mid-air combos is nice, but like, that's it. TVC and even KOF 11 offered a lot of crazy system mechanics, so what does MVC3 have in place to make it so special and beloved? Well, that lies in its non-tag mechanics, the insane amount of OTGs that assist can capitalize off of, which is very akin to MVC2. It's that crumple mechanic that straight up leaves characters vulnerable for extended periods of time, and of course, so many infinites. And after you get destroyed by the inevitable infinite, you get access to what's considered a tag game staple, X Factor, or the comeback mechanic, something that functions pretty similar to a reverse Barku, so to speak. X Factor freezes the game momentarily and cancels your attack or whatever action you're doing, allowing you to get some gnarly combo extensions, or as it's more commonly used, it can extend some already lengthy block strings. As X Factor is going, you will regain some red health back without the need of tagging in and out. Of course, most important of all, you get a damage boost. The damage boost and healing factor get stronger depending on how many characters you have available, so level 1 is 3 alive, 2 X Factor is 2 alive, and so on and so forth. X Factor basically defined this game towards the end of its life, and many comebacks were made, which puts MVC3 in a really strange situation. It's either a tag game that you put your all into with the incredible neutral that's layered with really strong assists to help you out during block strings as you try to open your opponents up for a possible reset or TOD situation, or one where you gamble it all on red and exploit the players incoming with that handy X Factor level 3. I've never seen a tag game where a good chunk of the game relies on either you steamrolling a team with excellent neutral and outplays, or you kinda knowing you're gonna get beat down as you try to make an insane comeback. Dare I say, I kind of enjoy the volatile direction MVC3 points the tag game genre in. But here's hoping Aiding and future titles can continue in this direction and start refining the style to kind of fix some of its more frustrating problems. Okay, please bear with me for this next one. Umineko Golden Fantasia is a 2v2 tag fighting game that's based off of the visual novel franchise Umineko. And unlike every franchise mentioned thus far, I unfortunately have zero experience with this particular world, but darn did this game do a good job of getting me invested. The tag mechanics on display here are fantastic. The devs took basically everything from the past decade or so of tag fighters and threw them all into this big old gumbo. Tags are called touches in this title, and we got 4 variants to work off of. Attack touch functions similarly to KOF 11's attack shift. This lets you continue combos while tagging in our partner. Guard touch is like guard cancel that lets you swap around while blocking. And the coolest feature in this game is the stylish take on the burst mechanic with damage touches. Basically, you can break a combo if you have the resources, and that lets you tag out of some tricky situations. And lastly, straight from SNK, we have assault touch, which is the classic quarter circle forward tag input that gives you an upper invincible attack into tag. While sure, I would have loved to see how assist would function in a tag title as crazy as this one, the pacing and the fluidity of tagging in and out of your team is what sells these mechanics for me. That, and of course some of the wacky non-tag related systems. Every character in this game has some sort of hidden potential or ability that's shown before the start of every match. They grant things like infinite special meter, which will be active for 10 seconds as a one-time use, or the resurrection ability, which gradually gives you back HP over the course of 9 seconds. These abilities get triggered in 2 ways. The first is through tagging, go figure. All you have to do is initiate either a normal or assault tag, and boom, the abilities will become activated. The second and most broken method is through an insane mechanic called Meta World. When you press all of your attack buttons together, you spawn an alternate universe location on the battlefield, which gives you access to both your point and Anchor's abilities, and depending on what combos you have going, this can lead to some nasty scenarios. Y'all, I think I may have found a hidden gem of sorts, at least for me personally. This game has rollback netcode on Steam, and I implore that you gamers run out and give it a shot, even if the art style and the overall world isn't your cup of tea. The tag mechanics here are masterful, and you can build team comps around all sorts of styles of play. And not only that, but yes, this is another fighting game that has really awesome accessible controls, as on Princess mode, you get access to an auto combo and single button specials, which is pretty darn similar to titles like Street Fighter 6's Modern or Granblue's control scheme. So go on and give this game a try. It does a great job of modernizing some forgotten tag mechanics from the experimental SNK era, while adding a whole new twist to gameplay that I found both addicting and invigorating. Mortal Kombat 2011 was NetherRealm Studios' big budget reboot of the gory 90s franchise, and I'm gonna cut straight to the chase. Sadly, NRS games and me just don't mix. I've always found them super clunky, and I know there's tech in these games to speed them up like glitch jabs and side cancel stuff, but they're just not really for me, and the tag mode at a mid to low level is really everything I do not like when developers try too hard to try to reinvent the wheel. I know this mode has some great high-level combos and footage, and I don't want to discredit anyone that enjoys it, but the core mechanics in this particular entry left me scratching my head often. Aside from the standard tagging in and out and being able to call assists via down-back tag, which sadly cost 1 meter, the bulk of comboing into tag is a complicated experience. Every single tag-specific combo or quick tag move is locked behind a move list, one that changes on a character-to-character basis, which I'm not gonna lie, is just too much for my brain to handle. Once you get things memorized with the fast tag and tag combos, you're gonna be in for a pretty decent time. But for me personally, I'm kind of happy tag games didn't move in this direction. SkullGirls was originally released in 2012 and was an indie darling amongst FGC enjoyers. This game holds a very special place in my heart as it was my first fighting game review ever, and low-key started my undying love for all things tag fighting. SkullGirls is special. You can pick between a solo, duo, or a team of 3 before selecting a character. Solos are like super-powered versions of a character. They hit hard. Really, really hard. Duos are above average on the power level and you get access to 1 assist, and 3 on a team is normal powered, but you get the benefits of assist and potential mix that comes with it. Tag gameplay is of the traditional variety, no tag specific combos or meta world tier, instead it's giving a huge Marvel 2 energy, which makes sense considering the game was directly inspired by MVC and MVC 2 specifically, so much to the point that we're back to 6 buttons for attacks. The inspiration runs deep once you dive into selecting your character in SkullGirls. For as you see, viewer, when you lock in a character, you get the opportunity to straight up set your assist. Yeah, I'm not joking. You could pick any move on your character, even if you wanted to be something as goofy as a jab, and make that your assist call. This effortlessly opens up the gameplay variety as, while sure there's optimal assists, the potential and creativity that is found in just messing around with dumb assist calls could go through the roof. SkullGirls also offers something that is definitely tag adjacent. We all know that a majority of these tag games are pretty busted. Infinites and TODs are a guarantee in most of these tag fighters. SkullGirls sought out to make the perfect system to prevent said degeneracy. They dubbed it the Infinite Prevention System, gosh darn it. As you combo an opponent, they'll start to take hits in stages. Thanks to that handy magic or chain series we all know and love, when you press a lot of buttons in succession from light punch into light kick into medium punch and so on and so forth, the game on the back end is scanning all of these attacks while it searches for repeat patterns. So if you start a combo with, say, jumping light kick, and you go for a rejump that uses jumping light kick, congratulations, you give your opponent a free burst that ends your turn on the combo. It may be a bit frustrating at first, but as you learn the system and you harness its potential, you'll quickly realize how goated it is. For starters, combos in a team game are now less about just getting a lot of damage out, and now it's about optimizing every aspect of your combo. Do you need to go for a combo that forces a reset here? Do you need to make a combo route that triggers the infinite prevention system so you can set up for nasty mix? There's so many insane ways to play SkullGirls, and if that's all too much for you to understand, you can just pick solo Beowulf and go crazy. Gamers, I ain't saying this lightly. Go out there and buy SkullGirls. This game is still incredible, and what it's done to revolutionize and solve some problematic aspects of the tag fighting game design is out of this world. Not to mention the roster is just jam-packed with some of the most creative characters I've seen in a fighting game yet. Street Fighter Cross Tekken. What should have been a dream crossover ended up almost ruining Capcom's fighting game division back in 2012. What were the tag systems looking like for SFXT? Similar to SkullGirls, we're back to 6 buttons, and this entry is a 2v2 fighter. As far as tag mechanics go, it's pretty standard. Every character in the cast gets a target combo that leads into a launcher. When the launcher is hit, your point and anchor are forced to swap positions as you carry on the combo in a juggle-like state. Another function is the cross assault, which brings out both characters on screen for some sandwich combo shenanigans. This is done at the cost of 3 bars of meter and with quarter circle back, medium punch, and medium kick. In solo play, it's a bit unwieldy as it feels like an AI controls your tagged in partner during the cross assault. Honestly, it's giving SFEX3, a slightly more refined system for sure, but still has a couple of quirks that need tweaking. And yeah, that's basically it for tag mechanics. There's no beating around the bush with this one. SFXT is just not meant to be played with 2 players. I can confidently say, similar to Street Fighter EX3, this game was designed for 4 players first and foremost. I mean, with the way the combos flow off launchers and the way combat feels in my hands, it just makes sense to play with a team of 2 rather than 1v1. Aside from those minor gripes, yeah, sadly this one is still a bit of a miss for me. I'm not a big fan of the assist gem features. Some of the gems are straight up pay to win, and that's not even mentioning the fact that certain gems became lost media once these digital storefronts closed down. The roster is pretty solid minus a couple of joke characters I really didn't vibe with, like Box Art Mega Man, and did we really need Cole McGrath taking up dev time on the PS3 version? The engine feels very Street Fighter 4-esque with the juggles tacked on, which isn't exactly my favorite choice as SF4 and I also never really mix. Despite personal gripes, Cross Tekken and its 2D pair play approach to tag design did leave a lasting impact on the genre. I can quite literally see the exact line 2XKO took to flesh out its tag game philosophy, and the beginnings of that start here with Street Fighter Cross Tekken's innovative tag launcher system, as it's really a slick way to integrate 2 players piloting a team at the same time. Low-key, give this game a look-see if you have the means to. It's definitely worth a play, but I wouldn't go out of my way for it. Tekken Tag 2, my beloved. This is the one game I actually remember playing quite a bit of pair play on, mainly on the Wii U version, funnily enough. Tekken Tag Tournament 2 is simply goated. This is 3D fighting games MVC2, at least in terms of scale. There's 61 characters in this game, most of which are returning from previous Tekkens in this non-canon showdown. We get to keep all the classic Tekken movement and stage designs, you know, breakable walls, wave dashing, etc. But the tag mechanics this time around are really robust. We get the standard tags, wall tags, which function similar to DOA's tag system near walls, as your anchor jumps off the wall diving into the battlefield as they switch off in a pretty safe manner. That's not all though. Tekken Tag Tournament 2 also has easily the most ignorant mechanic I've seen in a tag fighting game, and that's Tag Assault. To execute this move, you must use a bound attack. These are labeled in the Tekken move list, usually with a green icon. When you do this bound move while pressing the tag button, full degeneracy begins as the opposition bounces up and you get full control over both your characters, and the combos you can squeeze out of this are ridiculous. Doubly so when you put it in the hands of two super skilled players who are playing on the same team. My biggest frustration with Tekken Tag 2 is that rounds end super fast due to that pesky 1 health bar shared over 2 characters, which for a game this quick feels kind of unfair. Aside from that, the game is still a blast 10 years later, and if they could please re-release Tekken Tag 2 with rollback, I'd be forever grateful, Namco. This is easily my least favorite era of the tag genre, so pardon me as I speedrun these titles because they aren't necessarily tag games, but hey, it's a design philosophy that's still going strong with the likes of MK1, so I gotta talk about it. Dragon Ball Z Supersonic Warriors 1 and 2 are what I like to see as the precursors to the Extreme Butoden 3DS game. Both of them have Arc Sys involvement, and both are these kind of shallow but fun fighting games for handhelds. Seeing how these are Game Boy Advance and DS games respectively, the gameplay is a bit on the shallow side. In Supersonic Warriors, the only tagging mechanic you have is clicking in the L button, which allows you to swap between your team of 3. No joke, that's the extent of the tag mechanics. DBZ Supersonic Warriors 2 mixes things up a bit by adding assist calls to the fray via support characters, but the bulk of the combat is still the classic swap in and out of playable characters. Truthfully, you don't really come to titles like Supersonic Warriors for in-depth tag mechanics. You play the game for its awesome translation of 3D Dragon Ball fights to the portable 2D space. The sprites and scaling are super impressive, and the beam struggles that get added in Supersonic Warriors 2 led to many mushy buttons on our DS lights. Sengoku Barasa Cross is a console and arcade Arc Sys assist-based fighting game. I struggled to include it in my previous list because the way assists function in SBX is unlike any tag game I've played before it. The game oozes that late 2000s Arc Sys style. The font of the game gives off metal vibes, and the sprite work is right out of the Hokuto no Ken GGX2 era. The characters are from the mostly Japanese-only Capcom Muso, which means of course the game was never translated for the States. Booting the game up, I was confused to say the least. I locked in a character, fiddled around in training mode, and quickly started asking myself, where's the tag gameplay? Remember that little Muso mention? These are your tag partners. As you box throughout a round, you'll gradually gain levels for your assist, or reinforcements as the game dubs it. That little red gauge underneath is how many uses you get before they gotta recharge. Once they hit level 100, you can call them without the horse recharge period. The game does offer multiple assist calls that are done via motion inputs, most of which are the tried and true, things like anti-air assist or combo extension assist, so it's not too special aside from using motion inputs to tag your reinforcements in. I do enjoy the fact that the assist call function ties into the Muso mechanics from the franchise it's spinning off of, but as an assist-based or tag-based video game, there's just not that much to dig into, you know what I mean? Still a really awesome game if you stumble across it, and I highly recommend checking out some Infinites on YouTube. I mean, this game is bonkers. Aka Plus One is a 1v1 assist anime fighter. Your assist calls can be activated on hit while standing and of course while blocking as a form of guard cancel. This game also has an emotion system that can determine how much damage you could dish out during a combo depending on what your emotions are, but that's a mechanic we could deep dive into a separate video because this game is truly that kooky. I'm not the biggest X-Emu enjoyer, the developers behind Aqua Plaza, and this game unfortunately really rubbed me the wrong way. If it looks cool to you, go on and give it a shot, but I can't really recommend this one in good faith. Dengenki Bunko Fighting Climax Ignition is a soft circle French bread anime crossover extravaganza, that was a lot of words, that features a massive amount of assists from all of your favorite anime shows. I've put quite a bit of time into this game as it was my main reason I begged for a PlayStation Vita, and yeah, it's pretty fun. I'm still really sad a lot of these awesome sprites are restricted to 1v1 battles, but the assist functions are fine. You get 2 assist calls depending on what direction you hold while you call in for backup. Forward is usually a quick charge or combo extender, and neutral assist is just a standard hit. This game shockingly has rollback netcode if you search for a certain Discord that will be linked in the description below, and I can personally vouch for its fun factor despite it not having traditional tag mechanics. Blade Arcus from Shining EX, yes, that's the actual title of the game, is not only a bad fighter, it's also one of my least favorite uses of the tag system of all time. They are literally just assist calls. There's nothing more, they're just assists. It's very simplified. Next game, I'll be grouping Dragon Ball Z Extreme Butoden and the Japanese only release of One Piece Battle Colosseum in the same slot here. One Piece technically came out a year after Extreme Butoden, but since they are very similar games that run on the exact same engine, I'll group them so we once again avoid fatigue. Now, personally, I loved Extreme Butoden growing up, and I could say that despite the shallow combo structure, the game holds up really well. This game, on top of standard assist calls, also finally has some form of tagging between your point and anchors. Hit stun, however, is pretty high in this game, so tagging anchors in mid-combo can set up for some pretty cheeky extensions. This applies to both One Piece and the Dragon Ball Z titles. Speaking of which, these two versions could cross over and battle each other via local and online battle modes, which you're watching on real 3DS hardware right here. And it's wild to me because it's like foreshadowing Arc System Works as they're going to handle some future Shonen Jump 3v3 tag game. I mean, they did do a pretty good job with these two titles and it flourished into Dragon Ball FighterZ, so who knows, maybe we'll get it in some near future. Nevertheless, get out there, soft mod your 3DSs, and go experience these two titles. They're pretty fun times. Okay, this game is made by the same devs who worked on Aquapausa, or the same devs who worked on the Arcana Heart series. Regardless, Nitro plus Blasters is just okay. It's a pretty standard anime fighter with busted combos and some really wild assists. Nitro Plus stands out in the sea of 1v1 with assist-based games because you get to choose 2 partners instead of just 1, which kind of makes combat flow pretty quickly, but the lack of true tag mechanics is really starting to irk me in games like this. It's basically just a standard anime fighter with wacky assists that fly across the screen with the press of a button. Let's just move on. Million Arthur Arcana Blood. Wait, okay, maybe this one's Team Arcana cooked. MAB is a special kind of tag title. It's a fighting game spin-off of Square Enix short-lived Million Arthur franchise, thus the crossover characters you'll see in the roster. Where this game shines is the endearing assist system. After you select your character, you choose up to 3 assists, each of various cost of 1 through 3. Level 1 assists are usually quick, to the point, nothing fancy, good utility, they get the job done. Level 2 assists start getting a bit wacky. They can set up traps, bind, or the classic full-screen-esque projectile. Level 3 assists are really hard-hitting, as they essentially run out onto the field, perform their own little auto combo, and get the job done. Here's where things get wild. You have access to all 3 assists as long as you have the resources for it, meaning you can call them in at any given time. Under the health bar are 5 little hexagonal pips, and you can call in the assists whenever as long as they're filled up. Not only that, the assists in this game can cancel into each other. As an assist is running, you could send basically all 3 out at once if you have the resources to spend, and you can go absolutely crazy with this. Of course, you could just combo off of 1 assist with your personal character, but the point is, it gets pretty crazy and it's mad fun. It's a pretty robust system, and the amount of creative assist types the game offers is definitely a refreshing, inspired take on the tag formula. There's also a hint of Golden Fantasia in there with the limit break mechanic, which, well, you know, breaks limits and lets you get a damage boost on combos depending on what elements you bring into a fight, as they do have weakness archetypes. Not gonna lie, for a 1v1 fighting game, especially one by the Nitro Plus devs, I gotta admit, they kinda cooked. This formula does a great job of making it feel like I'm entering a random battle with the party akin to an RPG, and I personally would have really dug some traditional tag mechanics on top of all the craziness we have, but this will suffice. Million Arthur Arcana Blood is, you know, kinda cool. Y'all should go give it a shot if you have the means to. Quick aside, eventually the tag mechanics breached containment and reached the world of omnidirectional 8-way runs and 1-button combos, aka the anime arena fighter. The Naruto Storm franchise was the biggest games to start this trend, and that's thanks to CyberConnect 2 pretty much injecting it in everything they did in the 3D arena space moving forward. You have assist calls that do various things, big projectiles, quick strikes, binds, the whole 9 yards. CC2 did not skip out in that regard. And later in games like Naruto Storm 4, you can active tag, which lets you swap in between your point and anchors as you're performing a combo, which is, you know, pretty neat stuff. Games like Jump Force, One Piece Burning Blood, etc. would follow suit in this regard, which also leads to games like JoJo All-Star Battle, even though it is more of a 2.5D game with, you know, lane switching akin to a Bloody Roar. They still eventually went on to add assists to help flesh out how the game feels. In that regard, it's more of a Yankee Bunko style title where they just come out, do their quick thing, make a cool appearance, and you keep it pushing. And if anything, it makes me feel really, really sad because they're not choosing from a special curated set of assists. They are literally characters in the game, but just their assist actions, which just begs for letting you be able to switch between these characters on the fly during gameplay. And I don't know why All-Star Battle R didn't go further in that direction. Nevertheless, they're all pretty solid games, minus Jump Force, and I recommend checking them out if you have the means to, especially All-Star Battle R.
We did it! We did it, boys! We did it! Oh my gosh! Yes, yes, yes!
That was a 15-year-old me's reaction to Marvel vs. Capcom's return. Keep in mind, it's been 5 years since we've seen anything MVC related, and it looks like traditional tag games were a thing of the past. My excitement for this game was off the charts. Despite the botched Chun-Li faces and rough art style, I was determined to give MVCI a fair shot. Sadly, the rest of the world wasn't as naive and forgiving as I was during the rollout of this game's release, and it didn't help that the PR surrounding this game was a bit controversial to say the least. Firstly, the demo. A lot of people got to experience firsthand that this was not the MVC they were looking for, and honestly, that's fair. The game reverted back to 2v2, 0 X-Men were featured in the game, and the Infinity Stone system was probably giving people war flashbacks to Street Fighter Cross Tekken's infamous gems. I've already mentioned that this game looks, well, let's be honest, it's a little ugly, but that was really hammered home once this trailer debuted at E3. Yeah, when you have the masters of blending anime and 3D together working on a brand new 3v3 Dragon Ball tag game, you can basically kiss any cells of this game goodbye. MVCI tried to have a decent PR run, but that often backfired as well. There was of course the accessibility versus mechanical depth argument now that the game was back to 2 characters instead of 3, with people thinking that the lack of an extra character would hamper the mechanical depth of Marvel vs. Capcom. On top of that, the control scheme went back to the Marvel vs. Capcom 2 style of light and heavy punches plus kicks. The game was missing fan favorites like X-Men, and there was literally no Fox representatives whatsoever. And when interviewers pressed on that nerve, the responses given came off kind of unfair to longtime fans. From Combo Fiend during a GameSpot interview, he went on to say the following infamous statement. If you were to actually think about it, these characters are just functions. They're just doing things. Magneto, case in point, is a favorite because he has an 8-way dash and he's really fast, right? So more technical players, all they want to do is triangle jump and that kind of stuff. Well, guess what? Nova could do the same thing. Captain Marvel could do the same thing. Ultron could do the same thing. Go ahead and try them out. While there is a nugget of truth to that statement, I mean, players do love the functions Magneto brings, and I kind of get where Combo Fiend is coming from. However, it's overall unfair to the fans who have been playing Marvel for the past 20 years to say that they basically only play Magneto for the functions he provided, not so much for the character himself, when oftentimes in fighting games, both are true. I highlight this moment in particular because it really struck my core of being both a fighting game competitive player and a casual enjoyer of the genre. Rosters are extremely important, and a lot of casual or mid-level players play Magneto because, well, he's Magneto. Most of them don't know about his triangle jump or ROM Infinite. They just like their favorite X-Men antagonists. Ultimately, in the end, it was comments like this that did more damage to MVCI than help it. Couple that with the MCU roster that alienated both casual and competitive fans and an art style that left a lot to be desired, and we had a recipe for, well, disaster. And the game also had mad issues on launch. The Easter egg Infinity Stones in the collector's edition of the game were a straight up joke for its hefty price tag. The character pass was middling, and on launch, vanilla MVCI was straight out of the 90s era of game design with how many easy infinites were found. Throw in a very weak story mode that's right up there with Street Fighter V in terms of how laughably nonsense it all is, and well, you can see why it got the cruel hand of fate it was dealt. And truthfully, it sucks, because gosh darn it, is Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite a blast to play. The roster, to me, mechanically, is honestly pretty good. I mean, we got Mega Man X for the first time in a Versus game, and he controls like a dream. Jeddah from Darkstalkers was a welcome addition, and he ends up becoming my main throughout this entry. Sigma from Mega Man X also shows up for the first time in years. Not to mention, Monster Hunter making their first time fighting game appearance, and they're really sick to play. Ultron is a blast, Captain Marvel is a shockingly unique character, Black Panther is really dope, and even Venom makes a wonderful return in all of his weird gooey goodness. As for mechanics, they're pretty basic. We got the Infinity Stone system, which lets you pick one stone before the start of each fight, all of which offering their own gimmick. Time Stone lets you phase teleport around, and when its meter reaches max, you could go into Storm mode, and that lets you speed up your attacks. It's essentially the Alpha 2 custom combo in a tag game. Reality Stone is a slow, cloud-like projectile that homes in on your enemies. It can be a viable combo extender. Its Infinity Storm sends out various elemental full-screen attacks that force the opposition to sit and block and think about their life choices. Mind Stone is a command grab that, when hit, leaves your opponent dizzy, and its storm ability constantly feeds you super meter. Power Stone is the most fun one for me. It sends out this purple wave that, on hit, can cause a wall bounce, leading to some crazy setups and combos. Couple that with its Storm, which simply doubles the damage you dish out, and we have a winner for one of the best overall stones if you want to pick up this game and check it out. Space is pretty average. On hit, it can pull in the opposition, and in its Storm, it puts people in this Tesseract-like cube, making blocking incoming mix-ups pretty tricky. Soulstone is a personal favorite of mine. It's a direct homage to Marvel vs. Capcom 1. When activated, it sends out this half-screen projectile that on hit gives you just a little bit of life back. When the storms popped, both of your characters come out on screen and brawl it out. Sandwiching my opponents with this will never not be super satisfying, and if a character gets KO'd at any point, using the storm will bring them back to life. Then the tag mechanic. And yes, I said tag singular, because in Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite, you are the assist. We ain't talking custom assists like SkullGirls, we're talking homegrown, figure it out, sandbox style design here, thanks to MVCI's active tag system, which is 100% lifted from Street Fighter EX3. And I see some shades of Cross Tekken in there. At any given point during a match, you can press the tag button and instantly swap out. While swapping, you get instant access to your second character, which means you gotta get creative during the combo making process. So throwing out a move or swapping during an OTG or at the end of certain special moves is key to making an effective team work. Between the Infinity Stones and the active tag mechanics, the potential is through the roof with neutral possibilities. And while I would have liked standard assist to stay in the game, the build and assist route works just as well and is an interesting wrinkle in the tag game design. Guys, of all the games I talk about today, please give Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite another shot. It's getting an awesome mod called MVCI and Beyond, which looks like it's reworking visuals and attempting to balance out some of the rougher edges of MVC's gameplay. There's also a 4-player function that seems to be unlocked via this mod coming soon. Good luck to the mod team Maximilian Dude has created, and special shoutouts to Rin for the cel-shaded project getting its boots off the ground. The game that's heard it all. This was the title that truly was my breakthrough into the FGC, Dragon Ball FighterZ. ArcSys decided to keep things, at least at the start, pretty darn simple in terms of tag mechanics. We have 3v3 back, the first time on console since 2011. Each character came with one unique assist at the time of release. This later was up to 3 assists with the release of Season 3. We also have our good old comeback mechanic, that of which being Sparking, aka X Factor. It functions pretty similarly to Marvel 3's infamous mechanic, the major difference being that Sparking can be used as a pretty gnarly combo extension tool, and the start part of many TODs. It also allows you to cancel your teleports into attack buttons, which can create for some crazy fuzzy situations. Speaking of nutty system mechanics, this is a Dragon Ball game, and ArcSys went above and beyond to flex that as you play. Super Dash is the most make or break mechanic for most who try to get into DBFZ. It's a homing dash attack that can be used as a combo extender, skip neutral option, or a chase of sorts after you cover that dash with an assist. Super Dash has a big downside, of course. You can't just throw it out willy-nilly because players can on reaction 2H or punish it with a Kamehameha beam, so be careful when you throw it out randomly. Defense in DBFZ is also pretty strong. Instead of push block, you have reflect, which is basically a push block with extra steps and a little on the laggy side. When you reflect a move, it sends the opponent flying backwards. It gives you time to reset neutral. That being said, it's a pretty risky gamble. With assists being super oppressive and lockdown-esque at DBFZ, you really have to find the timing in the gaps to get your turn back. So the second option you have is to guard cancel, which similar to other games just tags in your partner off screen, at least as of Season 3. Dragon Ball FighterZ overall is a pretty easy game to pick up and get into. Some would argue to its detriment as it's part of the new era of what I dub accessible fighting games. DBFZ doesn't have crazy half circle inputs or Shoryuken motions. Basically everything in this game is done with a quarter circle forward or backwards and 2 attack buttons, maybe the occasional down input. The combo structure is also pretty automated, as this game uses an auto combo system for literally every hit you land. There are some gimmicks the players could use to curve this auto combo system. For example, after a launcher you could use 5M and then hold 2L to avoid the auto combo suction that the light auto combo would normally give you in mid-air. But at the game's core, auto combos are the crux of the combo system. And personally, I don't mind the auto combos. Combos still have a ton of sauce though, and it's well worth exploring the cast to see who fits your personal playstyle. The game, despite its modern facelift, still has a lot of tag fighter grime. DBFZ's personal history as a fighting game is layered and well worth researching, as in my opinion, it had some of the best competitive storylines in the modern FGC, bar none. Tyrant UK has an excellent starting point on the history of Dragon Ball FighterZ that I highly recommend you give a watch if anything about this title catches your eye. As for a tag game, it's pretty darn good. The game was leaps and bounds ahead of the curve and even offered the first 6 players versus mode with Dragon Ball FighterZ Party Mode, where you can have 3 people each controlling a member of the team as they duke it out. Sadly, from what I gather, this isn't possible to pull off on the rollback patch of the game, but it is still available via delay-based netcode. I truly hope one day this gets turned into a local mode via a mod for the PC or an official update. But at the rate current DBFZ updates are going, we might just have to wait for a Dragon Ball FighterZ 2. As Capcom's crown falls to the ground, during the tag game renaissance, ArcSys comes to claim it with yet another tag game to flex on them. We know of Dragon Ball FighterZ and the hype that it brought, but how many of you guys remember ArcSys' other tag fighter? Okay, so a lot of you guys might be. Okay, Cross Tag's Battle's launch was, let's be real, it was a disaster for the average consumer. It's a 2v2 tag fighter that launched with 20 asset flipped characters from ArcSys' history that was advertised to have a 40 character roster on launch. The game was missing a slew of fan favorites and locked a lot of them behind DLC season passes, including the Ruby roster. ArcSys released the game for $40 on launch, and it came out kind of rushed and unfinished feeling, but if you wanted every character pack for the rest of the year, you could drop $20 and get the remainder of the game you basically paid for, meaning you kinda got tricked into paying full price for a half-baked title. I point all of this out because it's a major reason as to why this game's downfall was inevitable, and it's textbook how not to release a tag game. So, BB Tag's gameplay, it's going for a simple control scheme. Everything in the game is done via quarter circle forward and a button, or quarter circle back and a button. The DPs in this game are done via, I'm not joking, 2 buttons, A plus D. There's 2 buttons in the game, attack A and attack B, each doing their own unique auto combo. The C button is this weird overhead command grab thing, and D is just your tag button on top of P, which is your partner assist action. On the topic of assist, BB Tag lets you choose between 3 different assist actions at once. If you do a neutral assist with your partner, they typically do a quick little hit. Forward and assist is usually a long range move, whether it be a projectile or a long range normal. and back assist is oftentimes a launcher. Where the game gets insane is at any point during an assist call, you can hit the tag button and change into your partner. This can only be done once during a basic assist call, but it sets up for some crazy sandwich opportunities and ridiculously long block strings. And if you happen to have full partner meter, you can activate Party Time, aka Cross Assault. This lets you control both characters at once. The partner character will do the assist as you press the partner button, and you could tag your two characters freely during Cross Assault, so the sandwich potential is out of this world. I'd also like to point out when combos are landed in BB Tag, characters straight up explode. You get barely any time to think before that health bar drains. They did add ways to break out of combos like calling in a partner, which is essentially a burst that lets your partner dive in off screen to break up the action. The last system mechanic the game offers is the tried and true comeback mechanic of BB Tag, Resonance. Once a character on either team gets knocked out, you could pop Resonance for some brief invincibility, and you get a massive buff to how much super meter you can stock take, going up to 9 levels. While it's on, you also recover health just like X Factor and Sparking. Each strength varies by levels, to be fair. Those levels are gained easily through doing partner calls and assist actions, so it's not terribly hard to hit the level 4 to save yourself if you're on a single character. BB Tag is honestly not that complex of a game. Combos are pretty short due to how high the damage is, which means matches go by extremely fast. Personally though, I still recommend BB Tag. At the time, even a bit to this day, I prefer it over Dragon Ball FighterZ because of how absolutely bonkers it all is. And this game kind of goes down to define how tag games are going to form in the upcoming future. Good old Power Rangers Battle for the Grid launched in 2019. Funnily enough, BFTG was based off of a mobile Power Rangers fighting game, so a lot of the assets and overall art style may look or feel cheap or mobile to some, and I can tell you for a fact, it's because that's exactly what it is. This is also where we get to introduce MVC2's very own Clockwork into the fray, as he was the lead combat designer on Battle for the Grid. BFTG is a 3v3 game with 1 assist action per character. You could take over said assists at any point during a call by pressing the assist button yet again, which can lead to some very creative situations. Battle for the Grid is also the first of the tag games to straight up ditch motion inputs. No simple or princess modes here, just straight up one button specials. This was mainly done for accessibility, and since a lot of the devs on this project had success with simplified fighting games via the mobile game, it only made sense. The simplified moves really help with onboarding, as getting in and matching assist and buttons is pretty fun at all levels. The game doesn't have traditional auto combos though. Light and heavy auto combos end usually with a knockdown, which assist can capitalize off of via an OTG, and medium auto combos are usually your rekkas, so to speak. There's a lot of insane routes you could take thanks to how freeform the OTG timing is in Battle for the Grid. You could pick people up off the floor into a full combo pretty easily, and that's without assist, and thanks to that, the TOD territory for most of the characters is very high. Things get wild when you throw in the Megazord comeback mechanic into the mix. It's basically a full screen robot that's throwing out big old normals and can add combo extensions or heavy block pressure. Defensively, you have the Zord counterattack, which basically throws out a long limb from one of your Megazords as a form of get off me attack. And we have the tried and true push blocking, which is basically standard across the tag games I've mentioned. Battle for the Grid is going through a bit of a resurgence in recent years. Sure, on launch it was a bit of a hard sell for most, not me of course, I was there day one as a massive Power Ranger and tag game enjoyer, and thankfully over time they added some dope characters including guest appearances with Ryu and Chun-Li and their own little awesome Sentai armor. If anything I've shown about Battle for the Grid looks cool, y'all know the vibes, come check this game out. This one more so than most because it offered something that the FGC hasn't really quite seen up until this point: crossplay. Battle for the Grid was one of the first games to have both rollback and crossplay, meaning that finding matches to this day is incredibly easy. Hunter x Hunter Nen Impact was shaping up to be the Kuso of my dreams. The trailers, or lack thereof, were giving nothing. The graphics and animation reminded me a ton of budget PSP fighters, and the roster was slim, real slim. My curiosity piqued even harder when I heard the game was delayed because they had to add rollback to it? I know from then on I was in for a ride. Then they shadow dropped a demo, and all my cares dissipated into the void. Hunter x Hunter Nen Impact for me isn't even a so bad it's good game, it's just straight up depressing. Knowing there's gonna be basically no one online and the discords that run this game will be dried up within the month instantly puts me off of the whole thing. Not to mention the abominable control scheme the devs went with. Nen Impact is yet another simple input fighter, and unlike say Battle for the Grid where the game is designed around it, Nen Impact feels like the simple input was slapped on as an afterthought. The special input button doesn't even feel real for characters like Gon. It's like one input that does 1,000 different stances, and it feels like all of which correspond to the light, medium, and heavy buttons. Does he get a forward and back special input? No. Not really, just good old rock, paper, scissors. This is the first time in any simple input fighting game I felt my hands fold against each other in prayer as I begged for motion inputs to come back. The game just feels so awful on fight stick no matter what control scheme I tried, and that alone is enough to prevent me from ever purchasing and playing the game. Personal gripes aside, Hunter x Hunter has a hodgepodge of all the mechanics we've talked about slapped together with duct tape and glue. We got Nen stance, a stance that works as a shield and counter of sorts that when held forward on hit leads to a stagger, and when held up leads to a launcher. There's also the classic 3-level X Factor, aka overgear system. You got 2 to choose from, quick gear, which is basically just cancels the animation frames on moves and gives you some other benefits, and then you have overgear, which is your big ol' X Factor burst, and it gives you access to this OTG dash, so combo shenanigans are bound to happen. Hunter x Hunter Nen Impact is a game where if you think it, it'll happen. Everything that's anything combos into each other. TODs are incredibly easy to come by. Tagging is at least varied. You can pick between 3 assist calls via tagging in a teammate and holding down left or right on the analog stick. And at any point during the tag attack, you can active tag into your teammate, which of course means mix will be nasty. Despite these additions, sadly, Hunter x Hunter Nen Impact isn't even fun as a training mode simulator. While I love my Kuso nonsense, I hope this video is a testament to that, something feels off about Nen Impact. It just feels soulless. And I mean more soulless than the usual aiding jank we've come to know and love. And the fact that this game is going to cost $60 on launch is absolute nonsense. But who knows? Maybe Nen Impact is a sleeper classic and I'll be proven wrong in July when the game drops. But for now, I'm skipping it. Bonus round. Before I wrap up, I have a couple games I have to rapid fire through just so we avoid the inevitable "you didn't talk about X game" comments, and I want to make sure you guys can weigh all of your options heavily. Okay, number 1, SNK Heroines Tag Frenzy. Truly an atrocious fighting game. Everything is done via a very simple auto combo. There's no traditional health bar, instead you build health up, so they get this weird like dream cancel thing, and then you one-shot them with the super, and that's how you get the KO. It's lame. On top of that, the game's tag mechanics are literally just swapping characters in and out, as the partner on the sidelines can call in like various distracting items like pixelating the screen and stuff like that. I don't know what SNK was thinking, bro. Lastly, Guilty Gear Team of 3. It's a pretty chaotic, crazy mode that I overall enjoy. They take the item throwing concept from SNK Heroines, but actually somewhat balance it, adding cooldowns and counterplay for your teams to coordinate with. Oh, also it's another 6v6 game where all 3 of you guys get to pilot your own little Guilty Gear character, and I love that about it. So, the last time I did this, the video ended on a pretty optimistic viewpoint. I was excited for 2XKO, I really enjoyed the beta 1 that we had, and I was hoping that if the game was successful, more fighting game devs would give the tag genre a chance. Boy, am I glad those devs just sent it instead. 2XKO is still in this pseudo-development hell. During Beta 2, alongside Jinx's reveal, the entire game shifted and morphed into less of a crazy high-octane TOD simulator and more of a nuanced anime fighter with robust tag mechanics. To be fair, this is anecdotal from the players that had time with it, of course, because 2XKO Betas 2 was hella limited in invites and restrictive with regions. Despite this, I'm still very excited for the game, and I think they're doing the whole simple input concept well, contrary to what some other people might be saying. I love the 4-player aspect of the game, as it's similar to titles like Tekken's Tag's pair play and Street Fighter EX3's tag modes, so it makes it feel like me and my teammate are one in the same when it comes to piloting a team. Calling upon my significant other to coordinate burst timings and combo extensions / sandwich opportunities is never not going to feel absolutely euphoric, and I think 2XKO excels in that regard. I love that characters feel incredibly unique. I could write a whole dissertation on how Echo is one of, if not my all-time favorite fighting game character due to his unique honestly never before seen rewind gimmick. I'm glad they removed some of the more confusing fuses like pulse and folded the auto combos into a control scheme instead. As for new fuses like sidekick and juggernaut, I have questions. Sidekick lets the point character stay out there and do all the work, meaning no swaps. To compensate, the point character gets a defensive boost when they dip below 30% health. They also get access to double down and 5 bars of super meter. Time will tell how that all shakes up, but I love the idea of letting newer players contribute strictly through the assist call function as they ease into the craziness that is tag game design. Juggernaut, however, is to me yet another confusing fuse, as it locks you into one champion and removes all of your assist abilities minus swaps at the start of each round. They get increased health, offensive boost, are able to double down or DHE with their own supers, snapback, and they start with 2 bars of meter. To me, this is way too overtuned. I don't like the idea of what's basically a superhuman running around curb stomping things in their path. I get that 2XKO is trying its best to ease in casual players, but it's getting to the point where I have to ask, when is enough enough? You simplified the control scheme with the special 1 and special 2 inputs, you made tagging robust with multiple defensive options, ranging from a dedicated anti-air button, push block, parries, and even a burst. They brought auto combos into the control scheme. I mean, again, what more do you need? I'm just not a fan of how 2XKO is approaching the concept of onboarding newcomers, but that's a convo for another time. Here's hoping that the next 2XKO beta sets things straight, because at the rate 2XKO is going, there's no way it won't get buried under the titan that will be Marvel Tokon Fighting Souls, and I just don't want that for 2XKO. It's Marvel, baby! Well, kind of. Marvel Tokon Fighting Souls is no joke my dream game. Having Arxis of all companies, the people behind my forever game, Dragon Ball FighterZ, get together to make a tonkatsu-inspired Marvel tag fighter is simply a match made in heaven. Visually, it's pushing that red line. I know Arxis is renowned for peak animation work, but gosh darn, look at the screen. Are you seeing these supers? The designs, it's so sick. It's so sick. Everything about the game is so cool. Even now, I struggle to form words on just how godlike everything looks. The 4v4 tagging is mind-melting from a player perspective. I can't wait to see how it will all play out, and according to the dev interview that went up on the PS blog shortly after the state of play, there seems to be inklings of a striker playstyle inspired by King of Fighters 2001, as you can have 1 point character and 3 assists. Gameplay looked to me like a mix between Strive and Dragon Ball FighterZ. I saw Captain America clearly hit a 2H counter launcher as he sent Iron Man tumbling to the ground with a quick low aerial combo, and it was followed up by a nifty OTG extension. There seems to be area shifts and wall breaks, which, hey, I'm all here for in a tag game environment. Double points if you do a bit of damage as people tumble through exploding cars and whatnot. But most importantly of all, Tokon confirmed on the PS blog that the game has simple and technical inputs. Finally, we could do motions and the 1-button stuff, literally how every fighting game should be designed at this rate. The music in the trailer was dynamic and exhilarating, special effects were sublime, characters are on point, and I simply cannot wait to play this game come 2026. Crossing my fingers it'll be at this year's EVO as well, but don't want to hold out hope for something that's not announced. And lastly on our hype train, we have Invincible versus... Now, no one, and I mean no one, saw this coming. As a big fan of Invincible, I'm pleasantly surprised that their first non-mobile game is a fighting game, one that's spearheaded by the vets over at Double Helix, like the Killer Instinct devs. Oh boy, I like the half-dot comic art style this game's got going on. The animation gives off massive NRS vibes, which I adore, as we need more Western-inspired tag fighters. The tag mechanics look pretty good so far. We got tag guard cancels, the classic assist calls, and my favorite new addition to tag fighters, the active tag, which seems to be essential in this game, as active tag and setting up for supers is one of the few ways to reset the in-game combo meter. Clearly means you can get big extensions off of actively using your team. A simple input control scheme is in play for now, but it sounds like devs have heard feedback in regards to wanting motion inputs, so hopefully down the line they could be added in an update once the game's launched, if at all possible. As for the making of this video, the game got revealed like 3 days ago, so information surrounding it and the tag mechanics are still being fleshed out over the lead up to release in 2026. It looks great, sounds great, and I cannot wait to get my hands on it, again, hopefully at EVO this year. And there you have it, an up-to-date, in-depth explanation on every single tag fighting game ever made. And I hope that you potentially might have found a new favorite game as I've been rambling on throughout this video. If you guys like this kind of stuff, please leave a like, comment, subscribe down below. It goes a long way in helping the channel, and we could reach more eyes and ears when it comes to the beauty of the tag fighting game genre. Once again, thank you so much for sticking to the end, and I wish you the best. Take care, and I'll see you on the next one.